I'm seated here with Bob. Bob is from the United States. He's most recently in the U.S. living in Chicago. He's been living in Krabi for over 2 years. He's traveled all over Asia. He initially moved to Chiang Mai, so his perspective on living in Krabi, living in Asia is very, very good. So, Bob, looking forward to diving into what it's like life in Krabi as an expat.
Okay.
Thank you. And let's get started here. Let's kind of go forward and then work back. So
All right.
Let's start with what inspired you, number one, to move to Thailand?
A long time ago in Chicago, somebody just kind of planted the seed for me to move to another country and teach English, said it was possible. And then that just kind of got the ball rolling in my head.
Now, you shared that story with me a little bit. You mentioned that there was a woman. Well, let's peel back a little bit. You were married how long?
20, just shy of 25 years.
Married, 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
You get divorced.
Yes.
And then you move out to your place in Chicago.
I was living downtown Chicago, studio apartment, and first time actually living on my own in my entire life.
And you find this thing called couch surfing. It's like an app, right?
Yep.
And I'll put a link to it in this description to this episode if people aren't familiar with it. But it's couch surfing. So you said you ended up having over 100 guests from all over the world.
Yes.
Come stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Do they pay you?
No. Couch surfing is supposed to be free. Basically, it's just kind of a way to share culture and community. So what the host gets out of it is they get someone from another country, they come and they share their experiences. You get to learn about other cultures. I was lucky when they cooked some of their own food for me. That was good. And what they get out of it is they get a place. They're staying with a local who knows the area, so they get a different view of the place that they visit rather than just the tourist view.
So the lady from Canada kind of inspired you. She was over 60, traveling solo.
Yeah, Renata came to Chicago. She wanted to drive Route 66 to California. She was traveling on her own. She was 62 years old, and at the time I was in my mid-40s, and I'm like, wow. I was just amazed at her energy and her fearlessness, and I said, okay, it's not too late for me to do this. Many of my guests were, kids in their gap year. And so I was thinking, oh yeah, it's easy for them. But now I was like, oh, well, I don't have to wait.
So take us through this. You had a career. How long had you been working in that job?
I've been working in that job in Chicago for 9 years when I left.
And how long in that skill?
I actually picked that skill up probably 11 years before I left.
So you had been working in that job, same company?
Yes.
For 9 years?
Yes.
And then after having all these conversations with travelers, it inspired you to say, okay, I'm making a change. Why did you pick Thailand?
I came to Singapore in 2016 in May. I had friends in Singapore, people I'd met through couch surfing. And then I was going to go to Vietnam because I had a friend there in Ho Chi Minh City. But 2 weeks is a long time for 2 cities, so I thought, okay, I'll squeeze another country in. And then Thailand was right there on the map, and I said, oh, I've always wanted to be a scuba diver. I've always wanted to learn. I'd heard Thailand was a great place to do it, so I did that in between my trip to Singapore and then Ho Chi Minh.
And where did you pick to move to in Thailand initially?
I picked Chiang Mai because to get a teaching certification, the one that I wanted was very expensive in Chicago. It would take me taking a month off of work, and living in Chicago is pretty expensive if you're not working. The same course was offered in Chiang Mai for half the price, and I was able to live on campus. And it was just a really beautiful experience, and so that is why I moved there. And then I decided to stay in Chiang Mai because of how nice it was, and I was able to find work.
How long did you live there?
I lived there for 3 years, January of 2017 to January of 2020.
We're going to dive into the Krabi topic in just a moment, but I think there's one more critical question I want to ask you before we get to diving into what expat life is like in Krabi, and that is, you had a career in the U.S., Are you still doing that same kind of work here?
No, I was a machinist and quality manager at a manufacturing facility. Those kind of jobs aren't really open to foreigners in Thailand. Teaching English is something that I enjoy doing because I like being around people. But it also offers me, now that I'm teaching online, it offers me the opportunity to work. I'm part-time. I mean, you might say that I'm almost like semi-retired. I work 4 days a week, maybe 20 hours a week when I'm busy, and I make enough to live here. And then through scuba diving activities, freelance, I can make some extra money for travel.
Well, first off, congratulations. You reinvented your life.
Thanks.
You went from icy cold Chicago, except beautiful summers, icy cold Chicago, married, 2 kids, got divorced, moved in solo into a studio, got kind of introduced to world travel through all your couch surfing guests. That kind of sparked a fire for you to say, I'm going to explore.
Yep.
And you land here in Krabi the long way through Chiang Mai because you're an avid diver. Man, pretty amazing.
It's good life.
Is it affordable to, I mean, you said you're semi-retired.
Being that I don't work a full-time job, it feels like I'm retired. I don't stress over work anymore. I enjoy what I do, and when I'm done, I have this. Now, we are seated in a beautiful place, obviously. Not everything looks like this, but yeah, where I live looks like this.
Okay. So the move from Chiang Mai to Krabi, probably a lot of that had to do with scuba diving.
No, actually it didn't. I left Chiang Mai to go on holiday. Chiang Mai gets very dirty. The air gets dirty in the months between January and April. And after 3 years of living through burning season, I said, no, I'm going to be gone. So I decided to go on a 4-month holiday to China, spend a week in Laos, and then the remainder in Vietnam. Until the rainy season started, I could come back when it was clean. However, I started that right when COVID started. So when I went to Vietnam, the borders closed and I was there for 1.5 years. After Vietnam said, okay, everybody needs to go, I ended up in Istanbul for another year and change before I returned to Thailand in September of 2022.
So you got displaced. I did too during COVID. I was in Chiang Mai. My original plan was to move to Chiang Mai. I did.
Yeah.
In 2019. When all the news was coming out of China, it looked so scary. I thought, man, I don't want to be stuck in Chiang Mai. So I tried to go to Japan. I got stuck in Taiwan.
Okay.
Landed in Taiwan one day. The next day, the airport closed. And it was a good year in Taiwan. But then when I came back to Thailand, I thought I would spend a week in Phuket, which turned into 4 years.
Okay. That
So
happened.
similar. So when you came back from Turkey to Thailand, how did you end up in Krabi?
One of my friends she moved to Chiang Mai after I did. I kind of inspired her to travel by herself, and she visited me and fell in love with Thailand the way that I did. And so she visited me in Turkey, and she said, you hate it here. You need to come back to Thailand. I'm going to be in Krabi for a month. So why don't you come, we'll hang out, and it'll be something different. So when I came here, I discovered that, the beaches were beautiful. It was just kind of a different lifestyle, and I decided to stay.
Have you been all over Thailand?
I visited many places in Thailand. I've not been too much to the Isan region. I've been South Thailand, North Thailand, and of course Bangkok. But there's still a lot of places that I have not visited.
Which one, just straight from shooting from your hip, which one do you like better, Chiang Mai or Krabi?
For my lifestyle and being diving, I obviously prefer being near the sea, so Krabi's been good for me. Chiang Mai has a different type of vibe. I did find more things to do with an expat community that didn't involve going to bars, which kind of the way that I'm finding it here. If you want to hang out, that's where people do it. There were a lot of opportunities to do things outdoors in Chiang Mai, or people more willing to do it. But I'm finding more of a group here that is willing to do things that don't involve going to a bar and drinking.
And would you say, for somebody considering Krabi, somebody watching this interview, what are 3, 4, 5 things that you think an American guy or a guy from Europe or Australia would really love about Krabi if he were to live here, or she was to live here?
Okay. It really depends on what you want your life to be. If you want the comforts of home, the things that you're used to, you're going to have to make some life adjustments. Things in Thailand and things in other countries don't work the way that they do in Western countries. And you have to make the adjustment. Or you're just going to come here and you're going to complain, and you're going to find a group of expats who sit around, drink and complain, and nobody really wants to be around them. Or you can come here and decide, hey, I'm going to learn what it's like to live in a different place. I'm going to learn the customs. Hopefully you're going to learn a little bit of the language, because you will get by much better. And just give up some of the comforts that you're used to for comforts that you have never had before in your life.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It takes some kind of, what I would say, flexibility.
A lot.
Fluidness is a person. There's some things that push us here.
Yes.
And we have to either flow like water, or you end up, I'm not going to say fail, but you end up not liking it. What are some amenities of Krabi that you think are extra attractive for expats?
Well, what I really love about it is just Thailand is, it's relaxing chaotic is what I like to call it. If you look around and things don't make a lot of sense to you, the traffic can be goofy, and you do got to make some adjustments in that way. Once you get out of the tourist area, and I live in Ao Nang, part of Krabi, which right now, as you know, we're in the middle of peak high season. And there are a lot of people here, a lot of tourists. So going down toward the beach, where all of the businesses are, where all of a lot of the resort hotels are, a lot of the party areas are, it's just filled with people. I find relaxing going the opposite direction. So I go to Ao Namao Beach, or I go to Klong Muang Beach just for a relaxing time away. I come to this coffee shop, which is not far off the beaten path, but it's very nice. There's a lot of places that you can discover where you can actually relax. If you like hiking, there's lots of opportunities to do that. If you like any kind of water, swimming, diving, which is huge for me, snorkeling, or just being out on the boats, visiting, traveling to the islands, it's a paradise to be able to do that.
Yeah, you have hiking, you have diving, you have all the ocean activities. You know, even though Krabi's on the mainland, it has an island feel.
It kind of does. In fact, there's a couple of places that you can only get to by boat, Railay Beach, Tansai, and it does feel like you're on an island. And what's really nice. There are, at least at this point, this is not as busy as Phuket, which has become kind of like a playland for the rich people. I will say that Ao Nang is changing in that way. It's much busier than it was when I moved here 2 years ago. It's almost completely changed. I wouldn't be recognizable. But Krabi Town is still pretty quiet. And there are still a lot of places around here where you can find a really nice quality of life for a lot less money than you would pay back home.
Yeah, affordability, no doubt. And it's affordable relative. You brought up Phuket. I used to think that it was a money thing in Phuket, like you said, the rich playground. However, now, before I would say that your experiences in Phuket were based on how much money you're willing to spend, I would say now, to avoid Phuket, no matter how much money you have, I can't think of a single, regardless of money, let's call them a wealthy person, single wealthy person I know back home that I would recommend going to Phuket. It's such a mess. It's all Russia now. It's overcrowded, congested. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, no matter how much money you had. But what I would do, I would move here. I mean, it's quite remarkable. I feel like you get the benefits. Now, the beaches aren't as beautiful as Phuket, but they're less crowded. You can actually have a normal life here.
Yes.
You, from the point A to point B, it's enjoyable. It's normal here. Whereas in Phuket, you feel like some Russian crazy meathead's going to run you over, and it's just congested. I like that about Krabi. It seems calm. It seems normal. Even though, like you said, over here, there's a lot of tourists.
Yep.
But even that doesn't feel too bad to me compared to Phuket.
Yeah. It's some, well, like I say in Thailand, same but different.
Same but different. Okay, you mentioned Ao Nung, we're in right now. The other place you mentioned, where I'm staying right now, Klong Muang, or
Klong Muang. Yeah.
I really like it there. The
Krabi
other
Town.
area that an expat might move to would be Krabi Town. Is there another pocket that an expat would pick, or are those the three most common?
Well, yeah, the three most well-known, Krabi Town, Ao Nung, and now people are moving out to Klong Muang. And what that's doing is bringing the sprawl. Klong Muang is growing quite a bit. Ao Namao, which is in the other direction, that way, is still fairly undeveloped and quiet at this moment. They have completely widened the road. They were expanding and just going to bring more progress, more development. But for now, it's more affordable than, say, Ao Nung. And Krabi is a pretty large province, so there's a lot of other places where I've not even been. I'll look to the it's kind of to the northwest on your way to Phuket, right before you get to Phang Nga Province, and that's supposed to be beautiful. I do owe it a visit. Sometimes, just like when I'm back in America, I get in a rut. I do the same things over and over. I find myself, well, I don't want to travel that far today because I'm lazy. But there's really no reason not to. And I have the freedom to do that.
How would you describe those three main pockets of Krabi, Ao Nung, Klong Muang, and Krabi Town?
Okay. From the time that I spent in Krabi Town, it is much more of a local feel. Krabi Town itself doesn't have beautiful beaches. It is on kind of an estuary canal, so it does have some water and some beautiful parks. Waterfront is amazing. I really like their night market, and they have a weekend night market that pops up and a few other amenities. And it's just a slower pace of life. It's less expensive than Ao Nung, which is the tourist area. And Klong Muang is kind of an up-and-coming place. They do have beautiful beaches. They have some fairly expensive resorts along the beaches as well. And I see development changing it. It's grown quite a bit in the last 2 years since I've been here. But it's still a very livable area. Many of my expat friends who I actually met in Ao Nung have, since I moved here, they've purchased condos in Klong Muang, and they love their life there. It's just very relaxing and beautiful. And so I think if I was to come here again, I would probably pick Klong Muang. But right now I have a very sweet arrangement with my landlord, and I'm paying well under market price for my place. And so where I live is still pretty quiet, and as long as it stays that way, I'm going to stay there.
How much do you pay for your place?
It's embarrassing. I pay under $200 a month for a one-bedroom with parking underneath, backed by a forest and no traffic.
Under $200?
It's $6,000 baht a month, so that's just under $200 a month with current exchange rate.
Wow.
You're not going to find it anywhere else.
Want to understand a little more of your expenses, but going back to how you were describing the areas, and when I get to a new place, I feel the energy. Where do I gravitate to after 3 or 4 days? And I've been gravitating to, even though I'm staying in Klong Muang, I like that little pocket. You know, I've come over to Ao Nung, where we are now. Krabi Town, maybe. But Klong Muang just has a nice almost feels local, but you feel it a little bit shifting. It's nice to have the luxury resorts there if you want to go out for a nice dinner. It's not very populated on the beach.
Right.
Phuket, you can barely find a place to sit down. So that's been enjoyable. Walk us through your budget. I mean, $200 a month for your living.
Yes.
For your home.
So I pay 6,000 baht a month for the rent. I pay usually under 1,000 for my utilities, which is most of that is electricity.
Under 1,000 baht, $30.
Yes, under 1,000. During a really hot season, it may be just a little bit more because I'm running the air conditioning a lot, but it's been very cool this year, so I've hardly touched it. So yeah, I'm around 700 baht a month is what I pay for electric. We have a well, so it's 20 baht a month. Again, I have an arrangement which you're not going to find. It's gone. I got this 2 years ago during slow season, and I just got lucky by signing a long-term contract. But my daily life, my expenses, I can eat, if I eat local food, my dinners can range anywhere from 60 baht, which is like $2, to $4 if I eat a big meal local. I don't eat a lot of Western food because I enjoy the Thai food more. But when I want to, I can go get a pizza directly down the street from me for 300 baht, 400 baht, or if I want to go get a steak or some kind of Italian food. There's lots of restaurants where I can pay more, but I haven't really done my food budget in a while, but I keep it pretty low. I also visit the local markets, which are open on different days, but every day. So I can buy fresh fruit and vegetables for very cheap. I do a little bit of cooking in my own house. If I don't want to cook, but I still want Thai food, I can buy ready-made curries and something, and then I just make my own rice, and I will have that for breakfast or dinner. And honestly, a good portion of food from the market is going to cost me 40 baht.
You know, Bob, as you're speaking, going through my mind is this. It's almost like you're living what we call in the U.S. the retired life.
It feels like it.
You have freedom. Like, I see you at the gym, you go scuba diving, you're living in nature, you can go hiking. You have all this, what I call freedom of your day, but it's a healthy day, and it's enjoyable. You don't have any financial strain. You're living here, but when we live here, we say we go out for a $2 dinner. It's really like you're going out to somebody's kitchen, and they're making you a beautiful meal.
Yes.
You know, it's a family or a woman who is just opening her kitchen up to the public. So it's not like a cheap fast food that you have in the U.S. that is unhealthy.
Right.
You know, it's a real meal. But it's fascinating, man. You know, I think for those guys watching and to hear your story, married, 2 kids, living in Chicago, in his career for a long time, the light switch goes on one day. And you get this idea, I'm going to change my life. I'm moving to Thailand. I'm going to enjoy life more. And it sounds like you are.
I am. I cannot envision myself going back and picking up where I left off in the States. It doesn't have any appeal to me anymore. I would just turn right around and come back here. So many of the things that we don't have in the U.S. Unless you live in parts of California, some places, you don't have the availability of street food, somebody cooking it right in front of you and serving it to you.
You know, on that note, you said about there's kind of like a social regulation. I also call that pride of ownership. Because when I went home a couple months ago, I actually walked into a few places, even like Chipotle, and I walked out. Why? I looked at the people working. It scared me.
Okay.
They look so grimy and grungy. It's like they never left the pandemic where they were sleeping on the sofa for 40 days in a row without a shower. I walked out. That doesn't happen to me here much here. When I go here to a local place, there's a pride of ownership. Everybody presenting themselves nicely, kindly. It looks, you can see the kitchen right there and how the sanitation is. And it's quite nice. It's interesting you brought that up, though, that, I feel like here, when you walk into a place, everyone working there has this pride of ownership. So, Bob, I think for an American guy watching this, a Western person, and which kind of guy do you think would really love Krabi?
Okay, I'm just be candid. All right, there's different types of people who move to Thailand and come to Krabi and stay here. I'll go ahead and get the one out of the way. You got a man who is divorced, unhappy in his life, comes to Thailand, discovers that women here are willing to date him where he could not get a date back in his own country. And so they come here and they just run wild, going through women. And basically you're making an ass of yourself. If that's you, if you want to come here just because it's easy, stay home. Don't come here. Then there are people who come here who actually enjoy meeting other people, learning other cultures, who's willing to make some changes in your life to accommodate living in a different type of culture and being a part of that community. That is the type of people that, number one, are more welcome here, and they're going to enjoy their life a lot more. Just the beauty and the relaxation of it. But one thing we have to keep in mind is that the Thai people live here. This is their life. This is their livelihood. And they do welcome us here because we provide income for them. So they do kind of bend over backwards to make us comfortable. But we also have to keep in mind that we don't want to take advantage of that. We don't want to become the demanding type of, well, I want it this way, or this is the way we did it back in the US, or why don't you do this? And I'm going to be honest, I feel like that sometimes. I say, well, you're doing it wrong. And I say, no, you're doing it differently. And if I just sit back and be patient, then sometimes I understand why it works better this way. There are so many things I've learned about living in Southeast Asia and in other countries that if I went back to America and say, no, we're doing it wrong, we need to do it like they do here. You have to come here with an open mind, and you have to be willing to change. Make some changes in your life. And at that point, you're really going to enjoy it.
How have you changed the most? List a few things that you feel like you've changed after living in Thailand.
Living in Thailand, I had to get used to kind of a slower pace of life. I was used to things being, done exactly the same way, or exactly in America. You do something, you expect it to be done perfectly. Here, it's more of a laid-back attitude, which did kind of turn me off a little bit. But now I realize that a lot of those things really don't matter. Things that I thought mattered in my life are not important. And once I can let go of the things that I thought are like super important, like timeliness or doing it perfectly or things working just the way that I want it to, and I adopted the attitude, well, it's going to work out. And if I just relax and enjoy the journey, I might learn something. And that's become, it just makes me happier.
Kind of forces that pause, which for me makes me more patient.
Yes.
And sometimes by that little pause, I find myself reacting less, responding more in a better way.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. Why Krabi and not Bangkok or Phuket?
Well, Bangkok is a beautiful city to visit, but after 2 days, I need to get the hell out of there. I don't like the congestion, the pollution, the noise. It's just not for me. I don't enjoy it. Phuket, as you said, it's just become very crowded.
So why Krabi?
Why Krabi? Well, I just this is where I landed here, and I decided to stay.
Why not leave?
Because my life here is too good right now. I will leave. During the summer, I left for 3 months. I went to Vietnam, China, and the Philippines, and then I came back. So my goal is to stay here, but I will travel from here. But I used to think that, traveling and traveling and traveling, just living nomadically would be a lot of fun, and it probably would be, but it's also tiring. So I discovered that having a home base to come back to allows me the freedom to travel, and then when I'm tired of that, I can come back home and have
Your base.
my base.
Where were you in China?
I went all over China this time. I started in Hangzhou. I spent 3 weeks in Jiaxing, which is a smaller city between Hangzhou and Shanghai, because I was watching a friend's cat. That I was house sitting for 3 weeks. When she came back, then I went to Chengdu, Xi'an, Beijing, Shanghai, down to Xiamen, and I stayed there until I left to the Philippines. So I kind of rode the rails all the way around.
It's interesting how you keep exploring. I feel, for me, exploring is key to preserving youthfulness, at least up here. Look, I'm looking older, losing my hair, but by exploring, I feel alive, and you're doing the same, which is pretty cool.
There's so much world out there that we don't know about and we haven't seen. And we tend to have preconceived ideas of what places are going to be like because of what the media says, what our friends have said, because of what they've heard, because of somebody else heard. I hear so many complaints back in America about how China this, China that is terrible. It's not. You really need to go see a place before you judge it. So I have learned not to expect something from what I've heard. I just go and I find out what it's really like. And I was very impressed with China.
What do you miss, if anything, about the U.S.?
There are definitely some foods that I miss in the U.S. that I just can't get here. I grew up in the deep South, and so I used to eat grits for breakfast, and sometimes they have no idea what they are over here, so I haven't had those in 8 years. Just certain styles of food. Chicago is a food wonderland, and just some things that I really love there, not available here, but that's okay, because I'm just learning to appreciate other foods. I missed pickles so much. Thailand doesn't really seem to understand dill pickles at all. If they do make them, they're just like sweet gherkins and they're not what I want. So last month I started making my own pickles, and I'm very proud to say that I make some goddamn good pickles, and it's easy. I don't know why I didn't do it before.
Open that business, I'll order some.
Thinking about it.
Bob, what don't you miss about the U.S.?
Oh my God. I don't miss, shit. I think the attitude that I saw from so many people in the U.S. and it's like this in every nation, but we're the best. Why should we do anything for anyone else? Why? Everybody else is wrong, we're right. It's just a nationalistic feeling, which from what I can see in the news reports has become even stronger and stronger. I don't think I could move back. The divisiveness that I see there from the news reports and from what my friends have told me, I couldn't live with that. Things are not perfect here. I'm not going to try to pretend that they are. Thai people have their own issues. Every government has its own issues. There's corruption everywhere. And that's part of the life that you just kind of have to learn to deal with. But to be honest, I don't worry about what the local government is doing because it's not really affecting me. And I know that's a selfish thing to say perhaps, but there's no reason for me to complain about it because I can't change their government. I just live with whatever it is. If it got to be oppressive for some reason, I would move somewhere else. But our own government back home has got its own problems, and I just don't want to live under that type of stress. It's very expensive to live in the United States. I would have to, if I went back, I would have to get a full-time job and a half to survive. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you bring up that part, the full-time job and a half to survive. You said not to live. You said to survive.
Survive.
There's a difference between surviving and living or thriving. And even for me, my quality of life in Thailand beats my quality of life in the US, and part of that is money, a money thing. I mean, but even if I was spending a $30,000 a month budget in the US, my life here would be better.
Yes.
Because it's away from the template of what you're supposed to do back home, which is buy houses, buy cars, constantly buying things, constantly more.
Yes.
Whereas here, my life is so simple.
I found that I was going through a change even before my divorce. In 2008, the housing market crashed. I lost 2 houses. I lost a rental and a big, beautiful Victorian that we had, refurbished, and they were gone. And most of the stuff that was in those houses were gone. And I just moved to a smaller place, and I discovered that, while it hurt to lose the things that I'd worked so hard for, I think most of it was the embarrassment of like, oh my God, I've failed. But then I realized how freeing it was not to be responsible for those things. And then when my wife and I, divorced after so many years, then I was living in a studio apartment, 400 square feet. And that was new for me. But I discovered that I didn't need so many of the things. I didn't have a television any longer. So I kind of gave up watching sports because there were so many other things that I could now do, that I had the freedom to do, that I enjoyed watching football for 40 years. I loved it. I loved watching basketball and things. But I want to do something different now.
Scuba diving, hiking.
Yeah, there's so many other things. So I gave up those things to do other things. I had to make room. You only have so much time during the day. So now I'm exploring different things. And who knows, maybe in a few years I may change again to do something different. But living here without the amenities that I had in the US, people will say, I could never live without. No, trust me, you can live without it, and you can learn that you're actually happier without the things.
You said living without the material items, the things that you're supposed to do as a religion back home, like go to Costco every week. What you find is when you're living without those things, you're living more.
Yes.
So, okay. If somebody has their attention on Krabi right now and they are considering maybe moving here, which pocket would you tell them to move to? Say if they were coming from the U.S. and it was a guy like us that was going to make the jump and to Thailand, but specifically Krabi, would you send them to Anong or?
Well, what I would do is kind of like I did. When I came here with my friend, we got Airbnb units right next to each other in Sai Tai, which is actually between Krabi Town and Ao Nang. And so I spent 6 weeks bouncing between Krabi Town and Ao Nang, and I just discovered that there was a little bit more life for me in Ao Nang to meet people at that time, and then I found a house to rent, and that's why I ended up in Ao Nang. I think if I had moved to Krabi Town, I would be just as happy, to be honest. So I guess my thing is, don't move blindly. Come visit, go to different places, discover what you like, meet some people, talk to them. I may not be the best guide for everybody. You may not think that my life is what you want, but there are a lot of other expats living here that you could talk to and say, okay, what do you do? What do you do? And then you'll get a better idea. So, whatever you do, visit first, and then you can make a better choice.
There might be a viewer who stumbled upon this video because they're going to just travel here, not live here. If there were 5 to 10 things that you would recommend, your short list, when you're in Krabi, you must do?
Okay, well, I'm going to recommend always outdoor things. So you must go snorkeling and or scuba diving if you've never done it before. Hiking, if you're into that, definitely go up Dragon's Crest. There are many opportunities to go kayaking on Thailand, or there's a spring nearby in Nong Talay. It's can't remember the name of it right now because I'm trying to think about it. Explore the beaches and go try all the local food. Try the local shops. See where the people are eating, and just go try something and learn how to say not spicy. and or you will hurt yourself. But yeah, these are definite things that I always recommend. There are places that I bring guests to almost every time they come, and one is Klong Muang Beach. I have a place out there that I love to go and relax, and I take people there, they fall in love with it. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, learn how to ride a motorcycle. It's the scariest and most exhilarating thing that you'll ever do.
Bob, thank you. You know, now I'm going to go do another interview. I'm meeting with a guy from Europe.
Okay.
His name's Cooper. He's lived here over 10 years. He has a nice restaurant called Farm to Plate. He's going to get his perspective on living in Krabi, but it's been very valuable hearing from a fellow American who's been living in Krabi over 2 years. Man, thank you. Any little final thoughts you want to share with them before we say farewell?
Look me up.
Yeah, hey, listen, I think for those guys watching right now who are, I'm going to say, trapped in something, whether it's a job, a living situation back home, you're proof that you don't have to be trapped.
Okay, now that you bring that up, can I say something? Don't move here or anywhere else because you're running away from something. If you are unhappy with your life, you need to really look at reasons why you're unhappy, because it may not be the situation that you're in. It could be your perspective. Because I've seen many people who have moved out here and they were unhappy at home, but they bring their same unhappinesses with them, and now they're unhappy here or anywhere else that they go. Don't run away from something, run to something. It's completely different. You need to be happy with yourself, and then you'll be happy with yourself here. If you're unhappy with yourself where you are, that's not going to change. You have to be willing to change.
Man, thanks, Paul. Guys, I'm going to catch you on the next interview. We're going to go say hello to Cooper. Going to say farewell to you with Bob here from KK Cafe in Krabi.
Good to meet you, Phil.